Hello, everyone. Hi, I hope you can hear me. Hi, and welcome to the Cities Webinar for Birkbeck, University of London. My name is Mara Nogueira, and I'm the Program Director for the new MSc Cities Programme. And today, what we're going to be doing is, first of all, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit better, and Melissa Butcher, who's joining us today, our head of department. Then I'll talk about a little bit about Birkbeck. After that, I'll go into more detail about the MSc Cities program, talk you through how to apply for the program afterwards, and finally, we'll have a couple of minutes, hopefully more than that, for you to ask some questions, and then we can answer any questions you might have. So for those who are just to make sure you can listen to me, would you mind just typing yes on your message board, which should be on your right? Okay, I have 2 yeses so far, maybe a couple more. So I'm sure. Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah, I see. I guess most people can hear me well. So let's move on then. So just for those who arrived a little bit late, just repeating a bit, my name is Mara Nogueira, and I am the program director for the MSc Cities program. I'm also a lecturer in urban geography in the geography department at Birkbeck. And joining us today is also Melissa Butcher, who's my colleague, who is the head of department in the geography department. Melissa, would you like to say hi to everybody? Maybe.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mara. Hi, everyone. As Mara said, I'm a professor in social and cultural geography. My research is always centered on cities.
You want to say hi?
I've been working with young. Oh, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
I hope others can hear me. Can others hear me? Just say yes in the chat room. Yeah. So, Mara,
Well,
if my lips are moving, Mara, that means I'm speaking.
Weird.
If you can't hear me. So I'll
Okay, I can
myself
hear you.
to Mara. Okay, great. As Mara mentioned, I'm head of department in the Department of Geography. I'm also a professor in social and cultural geography, and we're all getting used to this new world of online learning. So I hope everybody is well and surviving self-isolation or isolation or social distancing. My research focuses on cities, so I look at processes of globalization and cultural change in cities, and I work quite a bit with young people in East London, looking at processes of gentrification, and then I also work with communities in Delhi as well as part of my work. So I look forward to speaking with you more this evening, and any questions you have about the program or about the work we do at Birkbeck in the department, feel free to ask. Back to you, Mara.
Okay, so Melissa's going to stay with us in the background, but she's going to come back in the end to help me answer any questions you might have. I see that some of you have just joined. So again, just to say a bit more about myself, I'm Mara Nogueira, and I'm going to be running the seminar, and just a bit about my own research. I am from Brazil, and my research focuses on Brazil, and more specifically on matters about urban informality. I'm very interested in the crisis of labor and the changing relations of global markets, of global labor markets, and how that affects our lives. So I'll be talking a bit more about that in the context of teaching of the course that I'll be offering as an option for the program. So moving on our presentation, so a bit about Birkbeck. So Birkbeck is London's evening university, and is part of the prestigious University of London. In 2020, we are actually celebrating our 100th anniversary of joining University of London. We have a great record in terms of student satisfaction. So in 2019, Birkbeck was ranked first amongst all London universities for overall satisfaction in the National Student Survey. Our location, we have two campuses. Our main campuses are located in Bloomsbury, so in the very heart of London. But we also have a campus in Stratford, which is a bit less used, but we are hoping to do more activities there. So just to talk about the location, we are located closely to other universities which are also part of the University of London, where you can attend several different events, and you have access to various resources such as the libraries that Birkbeck has, but other universities as well. So it's a very for you who are looking for complement your student experience. It's a very good location, and it will give you access to really amazing resources for you to enrich your education, but also your student experience more broadly. I would also say it's a perfect place for which to think about cities, right? We are in the heart of a vibrant city, which is London. So moving on a bit in the presentation about the cities program more specifically. So we think that cities are very complex places that shouldn't be approached from a single disciplinary background. So the course that we are offering brings together the departments in the School of Arts and in the School of Social Sciences. So you can see in the presentation the several departments which are involved in the program, such as cultures and languages, English and humanities and the arts, but also in the School of Social Sciences, applied linguistics and communication, history, politics, etc. So there are several departments coming together in this program, which is very exciting and unique. So although the department, the program is then taught across these two schools and all the different departments, it will be placed in the geography department, which is the home of the program, where both Melissa and I are also located. The geography department, a little bit about that, is a very diverse and multiple department with more than 20 researchers, staff members that are part of the department. It's led by internationally recognized research active academics, but apart from the academic staff members, we have also other researchers, teaching and scholarship, and professional support staff members who are part of the department. So why would you then study cities? I guess if you're here, if you're joining us today, you're interested in cities, and I don't have to convince you very much, but and in any case, I'll try a little bit for those who are still unsure. So urbanization, as you might know, and the impacts of urbanization are a critical challenge that our society is dealing in this 21st century. It's impacting structurally the way that we live and the livelihoods of more than half of the population of the globe who now lives in cities, right? So there are very complex challenges then which are facing cities nowadays. Just to think about a few here, we can think about climate change and how climate change might affect urban spaces, might lead to changes and impacts that we might want to think about, how to make our cities more sustainable, and therefore adapt cities to the challenge of climate change. We can think of, as I do in my own research, how the restructuring the global labor market is creating challenges for cities such as we think about the gig economy, but also the growth in informal labor markets in several cities across the world, and how that changes the way we relate to cities. Just to bring this to our current time, we can think about the global pandemic we are facing and the challenges that a pandemic like this creates for urban environments, how it affects people's lives differently depending on their livelihoods. So we can combine different approaches here, thinking about how urban inequality affects how a pandemic like the one we are facing can create differentiated impacts for people that live in a city like London, right? So these are the types of questions that we are dealing with here, but there are many more possibilities. As as I said in the beginning, I'm sorry, I have just a sip of water. As we were saying in the beginning, we think that cities are complex spaces that could not be approached from one single discipline. So we are offering here a transdisciplinary approach that combines both the research skills that we've developed in both the School of Arts and the School of Social Sciences to bring here a very unique program that will give you a differential in relation to other programs that you might find in other schools in London, for instance, that approach urban studies from normally a very well-defined disciplinary background. So we are here bringing you a unique transdisciplinary approach to cities. In terms of the structure of the program more specifically, so this is what we will be looking at. If you I'll ask you, I see that some people are asking questions. I'm going to be, me and Melissa are going to be addressing those questions in the end, if you don't mind. So feel free to ask questions, but I'll address them in the end if that's okay with you. So in terms of the structure of the program, we have two options here. You might choose to study full-time, or you might choose to study part-time. So if we are looking at full-time, what you're going to be doing here in your year one is the core module, which is called Understanding the City, and then 3 other optional modules that you're going to be able to choose from all the departments which are involved in the program. Or you can choose to do a part-time, the degree part-time. In this case, you would have then your options divided in between year 1 and year 2. So in year 1, you will be doing the Understanding the City core module and one of the options. And then in the second year, options 2 and 3, plus your dissertation. Now, I forgot to mention, obviously, in the full-time, you also are going to be doing your dissertation in the end of your first year. So in terms of what does that mean in terms of time commitment, if you are doing the program full-time, you're going to be required to attend classes 2 to 3 times a week, always in the evenings. If you're choosing to do the program part-time, you're going to be doing be attending classes 1 to 2 evenings a week. The one thing that I would like to mention and highlight, which is quite an exciting bit of the program, is that we also run some of the options have field trips, and those field trips in terms of time commitment would last up to 1 week normally. And the classes will take part from October to July. So in terms of just to give you a sort of a sneak peek of the program, our core module here entitled Understanding the City is a team taught module, which has faculty coming from both schools, from the arts schools and the social science school. I'll be teaching the program. Also, Melissa will be teaching the program. From the geography department, we also have Paul Watt, whose research is focused on the issue of housing and other types of urban inequalities in relation to housing, but also other aspects of urbanization. He's a leading academic as well in his field, but we also have others involved in the course, such as Scott Rogers, who will be teaching a class on based on his own research on social media and the impacts of media and how urbanization evolves. But we also have Mark Crimson from the History of Art department, Jack Liu, who looks at linguistics in the context of urban spaces, and other people. Apart from doing the core module, you're going to also be attending a research method seminar, which will be composed of 10 different workshops, each workshop focused on one different methodology, so that will prepare you to do your own research and also to apply different methodologies, not only for your dissertation, but in your future employment or in any other activity that you want to apply the methods for. In terms of the options that we offer, the list of modules is actually larger than this. This is just a sample of the modules that will be available. I'd like to highlight as well that those modules might change according to staff availability, but this is what is a sort of a sample of what's available. So you can, for instance, in geography, choose to take cities and urban equalities, which is taught by Paul Watt, our colleague that I just mentioned. You could also choose to take the Cities in the Global South course, which is taught by me, and also Melissa and our colleague Joana Barros. And it focuses on urbanization from a Global South perspective. So we'll give you a sort of an idea of how urban studies, the discipline of urban studies, can be reshaped if we switch the focus to the Global South, and we look at Latin America, we look at Africa, we look at Southeast Asia. So, and what I would like to highlight is that our courses, our options are varied, and our research, our teaching is research-led. So people will be teaching these courses, are experts in whatever they are talking about, and the teaching is informed by their own research. Other options that you might want to take include, for instance, in the Culture and Languages department, Cities and Culture, Urban Spaces and Modern Cultures. So there is a variety of options here that you can choose from. So you can actually focus your degree in one specific kind of type of subject that you're interested in. And we can take, if you are interested in any of the options, you can ask questions in the end of the presentation. We are happy to answer. So as I was saying, our teaching is research-led. So our academics are experts in their field, and their courses are shaped around their own interests and their exciting research. Most of our teaching takes place in small teacher-led seminar groups, which are designed to promote active student participation. So you're going to be able to really engage with teachers and with your colleagues and learn from both your teachers, but also your colleagues during the seminars. But also you will gain subject-specific knowledge from those sessions. As I said before, the optional modules also include field trips, which are a different form of teaching that will also allow you to develop research methods and skills in the field. So applying your skills to actually conducting research in the field. In terms of assessment, the majority of our courses are, including the core module and the majority of the options, are primarily assessed through coursework, so in different formats. such as academic essays are quite common, but also literature reviews, annotated bibliographies. For the fieldwork trips, you will maybe be required to write fieldwork reports, methods, case studies, blogs, and etc. And we can also, again, if you have more questions about assessment, we can talk about it during the Q&A. In the end of your degree, you will be then conducting your own research, which is a very exciting part of your degree. So you're going to be writing your dissertation, which will provide you with the opportunity to undertake an independent research project under the guidance of a supervisor. Will allow you then to develop your ideas on a topic of your choice related to your field of study, and then to acquire key postgraduate skills that will be very then useful for you in the future for whatever you choose to do with your program. So in terms of the structure here as well, you may choose to do a Master's of Art or a Master's of Science. So the difference here is that if you're doing a Master's of Art, you are required to take at least one option from one of the School of Arts department, and then conduct your dissertation under the supervision of a academic from one of the Arts and Humanities department. If you choose to do a Master's of Science, MSc, the difference here then is that you are required to take at least one option from one offered from by one of the social sciences departments, and do your dissertation under the supervision of an academic from one of the social sciences department. Again, if you have questions, we can answer them in the end. So what I want to highlight here then is that the program has a very flexible structure. It allows you to study both full-time or part-time, do an MA or an MSc. So it's a program that is very structured then to be responsive, and adaptable to the interests of the students. In terms of skills and employability through your program here, after completing this program, you will acquire a variety of skills which are very relevant for the job market, such as analyzing the latest research on governance, sustainability, design, socioeconomics, policy practices, and culture of cities. So you're really going to be exposed to cutting-edge research in those fields. You also acquire the capacity to design and deliver independent research, including being able to provide a critical analysis and really engage with a variety of sources of data. You will be able to understand the dynamics of very diverse cultural spaces, and including being able to work within those culturally diverse spaces. And you'll also be able to recognize and apply the contribution of urban research to civil society, but also to government policy, for instance. Sectors that you might find employment later that our students normally go on working later include here urban policy, sustainability, governance, urban design, culture. So you can work in the local and for the national government, for urban planning, for housing, for NGOs and community organizations, for civil service, for the private sector consultancies, think tanks, NGOs working on issues of sustainability and urban redevelopment, and the list goes on, right? One of the things that we'd like to highlight about Birkbeck is also a unique feature of our evening university, is that the students are very diverse, and a lot of them come already from the job market. They are already employed, and they already are engaging with those questions on their jobs, and you're gonna be then able to meet and develop networks with people who might be employed by the very sector that you want to be part of in the future. So it really allows you here to develop networks that might be then quite useful for you in the future when you are looking for a placement in the job market. So we really like in our classes to draw from the experiences of our students who really enrich the experience and make sure that people learn one from another, right? So in terms of applications then, that was a little bit about the program. And obviously, again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask now or ask in the end, and we will address them in a second. So if you want to apply for the program, our entry requirements are the standard postgraduate entry requirements, which is a second class honors degree, so a 2-2 or both from either a UK university or an equivalent international qualification. So to apply, you should go online to this website. I forgot to mention in the beginning that we will be sharing the PowerPoint slides with you via email afterwards. And also I'll share the link for the application afterwards via email. So the start date is October 2020. And just to give you a taster, if you're interested in the program and the kinds of subjects that we'll be talking about during the classes and etc., I will invite you all to take part in our launching event, which is going to be happening online, like everything these days. It was actually going to happen, be a panel discussion at Birkbeck, but we had to switch it online because of the current situation. So it's an event that will be happening on May 7 with Professor Sanjay and Professor Joanne Leal. Professor Sanjay Srisvatava, sorry about that. He is placed. He's a professor of sociology at the Institute of Economic Growth in Delhi University, and Professor Joanne Leal is a professor of German Studies at the Department of Cultures and Language at Birkbeck, and they will be both talking about how gender shapes urban space and how urban space is shaped by gender from their disciplinary background. So Professor Sanjay is from the social sciences, Professor Joanne is from the arts. So we're going to be exploring here how the arts and the social sciences can be combined to address an issue such as gender here in urban space. If you are interested, you can book your place in this link, which again I will be sharing with you after this via email. So I would like to thank you all for being here with us today, and I will now try to address any questions that you might have. I see that some of you have asked questions already. So also feel free to contact me via email if you have any further questions that you might have after this. Either you can email me or you can email the geography department, as you can see in the slides. So thank you very much, and now I'm going to address the questions. And Melissa is joining us again. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Mara. Thanks.
So
we've got a question from Diogo, who was asking about, he's our first one on our chat. What is the #1 issue in your opinion that cities deal with at the moment in regards to climate change? Did you want to respond to that, Mara, or shall I? Yeah,
if you want to give it a go, I can jump in.
Jump in, okay. So Diego, I think there's several issues there. I'm not sure who would be. I'm not sure if I pick just one. but you could look at it from many different perspectives. So you could think about, what I'm interested in, for example, is migration. So with climate change, we're seeing that already is mass movements of people. And people tend to move into the economic engines of countries like cities. So you could look at it from the angle of migration and populations moving into cities. And how cities are going to cope with this influx of population growth that might result from climate change. You could look at it from the perspective of resources. So what about water? We're seeing now cities that are incredibly stressed because of lack of water. We saw, was it Cape Town just a couple of years ago? Was it last year or the year before? Was almost out of water, like an entire city that suddenly had no water. And if you look at the history of cities, you can see this pattern where there are ruined urban sites that archaeologists are working on, that some of our archaeologists work on, and these are what's left over from cities that have declined because of lack of water. So there's those kind of questions as well. You could look at architecture. How are we going to have to live and redesign how we live in cities? You can see that already in London. So solar panels. You can see housing with plants built into their architecture. So there's several different topics. If that was something you were interested in, this intersection between the environment and the urban, again, we're very well placed to do that because we have a very, very good climate change program here as well. So your options, if you were interested, you would take the core urban option, but then you could also, the core urban module, but then you could take one of the options from the climate change module, like living with climate change or understanding climate change. And then you could combine that and then develop your own research question for your dissertation that brings those two together.
I think that
so
kind of addresses a bit Maria's questions as well. She's asking what sort of topics could I do for my dissertation? And I think, for instance, like what you've just said, Melissa, in terms of how you can think about climate change through certain aspects of the urban could be, for instance, one topic. You could do, as we were saying, this is a combined degree between the social sciences and the arts. So you might as well want to do some research that talks about cities from an arts perspective. For instance, how we can think about cities from the literature point of view. And it might be, for instance, that you want to do a literature focus dissertation that looks at climate change and perhaps how the environment is portrayed in different books, or how the urban is fought through literature in terms of sustainability, in terms of discussions around nature, right? How is nature and the urban kind of dealt on in literature or in cinema, for instance. So there are many possibilities here. What I would like to just to highlight is that in order for you to have a better experience, you might want to do your dissertation topic that relates to the research that some of the academics are developing, right? So something that will allow you to get the most out of the department that you are doing your dissertation supervised by, right? So what kinds of topics you're going to be doing relates to how you're gonna your path in the program, and we expect you to be informed by the courses that you take, and perhaps develop a topic from a particular course that you were interested in, and from there kind of decide to dive deeper into a particular topic. So any of the research covered by the members of staff, which are in this part of the program, could be an option.
Just quickly to cover some of those topics, Maria, you have gender, which both Mara and I work on. So gender in the city, youth in the city, media in the city, even the classicists. So if you wanted to do something on looking at the history of the city, we're very strong in terms of historic overview of the city as well. So it's really up to your interests, actually. and thinking about, as Mara said, who could be your potential supervisor with expertise. There's a question about intro textbooks that we'd recommend. Mara is convener of the core module, so I mean, there's handbooks. The great thing about the city as a topic is that there's quite a bit written about it already, and there are very useful handbooks. So you could always, if you wanted something to read before you applied, before you started the course, just to get a background to urban studies, then there's readers like Cities in the 21st Century. So some of the big publishers like Sage Publishing and Routledge Publishing, they have compilations, if you like, of essays and articles that have been written often over a long period of time that they compile together into a handbook, and that can give you a really good background. So there's handbooks to the city, or handbooks to urban studies, Cities in the 21st Century, the Gentrification Reader. So those would just give you a general background. But Mara, is there a textbook for the Understanding the Cities course?
Not at the moment. I think that as Melissa was saying, each course is going to have that recommended bibliography as well. So if you're interested, you could look at those handbooks. But when the time comes as well, you're going to be the universe of literature that we're talking here is huge, right? So each course is going to be focusing on specific parts of urban studies. So of course you can start by kind of doing your own research, but most probably the bibliography of the course that you'll be taking is going to surprise you in a good way, right? Bringing sort of like new exciting books and articles that you didn't hear about before. So there is a question here about closing deadlines, closing date for applications. The thing is, a lot of the options that we offer are quite popular. For instance, the one that Melissa runs, the Delhi field trip, is a very popular module. So what we say is that you should apply as soon as you can, so you can have the opportunity to choose the modules that you want to take, because there is a chance that they might run out of places if you leave your application to the last minute. But we don't really have like a closing date for applications. Obviously, you want to apply before the starting date, so by mid-September, but the earlier the better, I would say, so you can really have access to the options that you want without running the risk of being without the ones that you really want to do. Do you want to add anything to that, Melissa? Oh, I've lost him.
That access the live.
Sorry, I'm having trouble here. Okay, so it's Melissa who is okay. Sorry. So let me go back here. I couldn't tell what was Melissa talking about, so I'm gonna move on to the next question. So Pooja is asking about residence facility. So William has already sent you a link, so you can look at Birkbeck's website under the student services part of the website. There is some information about accommodation and also an email contact for which you can ask further questions about that. Oh, is there any specific reason for the Hi, Melissa. So I was jumping in, I don't know, answering Pooja's question about why Birkbeck is an evening university. So, our mission, Birkbeck's mission, is to provide education to all, right? So to be inclusive, and the reason why we have our classes in the evening so as to people can balance other commitments in their lives, such as their jobs with their education. So it's really one of the uniqueness of Birkbeck in relation to other universities to have evening classes, which will allow you then to balance your other commitments with your studies, and then to make education accessible to more people, right? That, for instance, people that work, people who have care commitments to relatives, that can then balance out those commitments with their education. Melissa, are you there? I'm still not. Yeah, I can't hear Melissa. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, I'm here. I think my yeah. Oh.
Okay. So are there any scholarships or bursaries which are already listed online as a continuing Birkbeck student? I'm actually, I would ask you then, Rupert, to ask that question via email. I can do a little bit of research before answering you that. Perhaps William, which is our technical staff member, can give us some clue here about where to find information on scholarships online. But
I can help with that
are
one,
you,
Mara.
yes,
Can you hear me,
Melissa?
Mara?
Yes, I can. Maybe you should disconnect your video.
With the scholarship, I will do that. I'll try. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're breaking a bit. Maybe you want to stop your video. It might help your connection.
Okay, I've turned off the video, but I'll answer Rupert's question if you about funding. For master students, there unfortunately isn't much funding. The Bonnart Trust have now announced that they're going to offer one scholarship for postgraduate in history and philosophy. So this is a new program. They haven't named us as being one of the eligible programs that we're looking into for next year. Otherwise, there are some scholarships for field work. If you look at the Royal Geographic Society, because we're based in the geography department, we do have some field work for some funding for field work in particular. In terms of, there are bursaries, but there can be bursaries, but you need to talk to the finance office, Rupert, to get more information on those. It depends on individual circumstances, but the finance can help you with that one. And for Wasif's question about the lockdown, well, a couple of points actually. If thinking about the Pooja's question about being a nighttime university, one thing I want to stress, or I like to always stress to my students, is that you need to think about how much time it takes. We've already mentioned the fabulous amount of reading you can do for any course that we offer at Birkbeck, particularly in our department. But being realistic, if you're studying part-time, you should be able to dedicate maybe 20 hours, 25 hours a week to your studies. So that's just to give you a realistic idea about studies. In fact, I sometimes say as much as 30. If you want to really get into the course, do all the readings, discuss ideas with your students, prepare for your lectures, do your assignments. You are looking at sort of between 20-25 hours a week, more if you want to really throw yourself into it and do all the extra reading as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. Wasif reminds me to mention about the COVID-19 situation. So just so that you're aware, we will be offering all courses starting in October. And so we don't see that we will be delaying the start for this program at this time. If you do decide to apply, if things do change, we'll let you know, obviously, in plenty of time. But for now, but we may have to offer courses by distance learning, which is what we did at the end of spring term as well, to deal with the social distancing regulations. So hopefully, hopefully, if you do apply, we will be able to have some kind of blended learning. We'll hopefully be able to get back into classrooms by spring term at least. We have to be aware that no one's quite certain about what's going to happen at the moment, but definitely the program will be going ahead. It just may incorporate more distance learning than we would normally do at this stage. So I see if you have an offer letter from Birkbeck. I would say in your situation, because of the current situation in Pakistan where you are at the moment, and in lockdown, just have a chat to the international office and they'll be able to advise you on what you need to do now. And it's not a problem to just extend the period in which you have to accept your offer. So that's a really simple thing to do. So they'll be able to do that for you. So if you just get in touch with the international office, they'll be able to sort that for you. Pooja, you're asking, are there any campus placements from the university once the degree is completed? Do you mean to be able to work on camp, or do you mean placing you in internships or in work placements? I think if that's what you're referring to, Pooja, we have what we call Birkbeck Talent, which is a part of the university, which is designed to help students find employment. And so they do actually have, yes, getting a job after the degree. So Birkbeck Talent would be, and you can look them up online on our website and see what they do, see what services they offer. So to give you an example, I work here in East London, so I do some work with councils from time to time. The local council to hire someone to help with some research on a particular project that they had running. So they approached us and Birkbeck Talent, and Birkbeck Talent were able to then send out a job description to our alumni, and then one of our alumni could then our alumni could apply for that position as well. So they are there to liaise and help students. There's no guarantee, obviously, but they are there and they do try to help students find work either during the degree, depending on your skills, or after the degree as well.
Are there any more questions? Well, I think that if there are no more questions, we will be then ending the session. But as I said before, first of all, thanks for everyone that joined us today. I'm really grateful for your presence here, and I hope you are doing well and keeping safe during this global pandemic wherever you are. And I really hope that this presentation really got your attention and that you are considering applying for the program and that you had your questions answered. But if you come across with a question that you didn't think of during the webinar, please do email us, and I'll be sharing with you the PowerPoint I've used for this presentation, which also has the link of how to apply and also the link for the Gendered Cities panel discussion. And I would love if you could join us for that as well. Melissa, do you want to say bye?
Yes. Goodbye. As Mara said, take care, stay safe, everyone, and hope to see you on the program in autumn.